Sprinbok Saga is proudly brought to you by Castle Lager, the taste that stood the test of time.
Welcome to the Sprinbok Saga. In this episode, we look at the year 2006, a year which interestingly commemorated a century of the Springbok badge. Kola and Chinga, one would expect that it was such a significant year that the fortunes would really favor the Springboks, but quite the opposite was true.
Yeah, in fact, Stan, it was a year that saw a lot of pressure brought to bear on Jake White. It saw 5 defeats in a row, a really bad losing run, 49-0 against the Wallabies.
The biggest tie in South Africa had against Australia. It's been a humiliating night.
Things were not looking too rosy a year just before the World Cup, and of course, there were the injuries.
Yeah, and how bad was that? Because one of the worst injuries, of course, was to the talisman of the Springbok side, Skalkberger, and also quite a serious injury suffered by Bakkies Botha. But again, we're getting ahead of the story. Let's start right at the beginning.
The Springboks arrived in a cold, wet Bloemfontein yesterday for their fitness tests. The squad of 45 is already losing some of its top players to injury, but Jake has made it clear that he does not intend to bring any new players into the squad.
But that's why we picked a bigger squad, so that we can at least, get certain players being able to cover for other players if we do get an injury or two.
Captain John Smith thinks that the bigger squad will give Jake the scope he needs to build a team with the eye on the World Cup in 2007.
To have more players will keep me on my toes as well. So I'm going to get to know a whole bunch of new guys who I think are going to take us straight through to the World Cup.
In his quest to make Springbok rugby more representative, Jake White, with the help of South African breweries, launched a school of excellence to identify and develop talented young players.
There's always going to be an expectation in this country to have a team that shows the diversity of our country. And that is one of the criteria that is in my contract. I find it increasingly more and more difficult as players are not involved in Super 14 campaigns, which again, I've emphasised as not being anyone's fault other than the fact that there's no working relationship in who's monitored and who gets looked after through the rest of the year. I approached the breweries and I spoke to Rob, and Rob was kind enough to donate some money and put it into a scheme where we will create opportunities for every player that we think can become Springboks.
Our vision of transformation is absolutely aligned with South African rugby. And secondly, to work with a man who has such incredible credentials when it comes to transformation like Jake White. When Jake approached us, we jumped at the opportunity, and we're really, really excited about making sure that the very obvious talent that sits here in South Africa amongst the best players is optimised and utilised.
Jake White was a man under pressure and even spoke of applying for a coaching job with England.
It's easy to be judged when you're winning. You've got to be judged when you're losing as well, and through the bad times.
Well, Dan, the first test of the year in Durban against the Scots, and already we could see Jake White continuing to build on that World Cup squad of his for 2007. 2 more players coming into the side, 1 or 2 also brought in, hopefully to see whether they'd foot the bill.
It was interesting in the sense of history that Jake White by now had a Springbok side with 535 caps. That was one of his earmarks. He wanted a side that was extremely experienced. We're constructing this picture of the 22 who would play in the World Cup final in Paris in 2007, and number 14 and 15 into the picture. Wynand Willifree is there now, Johan Miller's there, and what is most interesting, Kola, is Jake White's pack was coming together. 7 of the forwards were playing very regularly. The position up for grabs was probably number 8.
So basically what they did have was, in effect, the engine running, but we'll see the wheels come off a little later.
And some wheels added, but let's have a look at how we went against the Scots.
As the crowd welcomes their beloved.
I think there's a huge belief that they can win, and you just got to read in the media and see that this is obviously a team that have come here with a mission and they want to try and get to win a test in South Africa, which they've never done before. When you say what are they going to do to unsettle us, I think there's no doubt they're going to try and want to start quickly.
The ball on the in. Sepulsa, wrapped up there by Gavin Kerr, but the penalty to South Africa. He had his arm out quite quickly. Percy Montgomery, a big centre in Henderson, have Scotland. He's a good attacking force. Hines, the aggressive player in the Six Nations Championships. Will that curve in? Yes, it will. Now he's got to be careful. Stay set. Donald Courtney, Van Niekerk now will pick and go. And he's so close to being over the line. Has gone up into the more position. But still the Springboks stay there. I don't think that, no.
You may award the try.
Scott Burger has been awarded the try. Be good ball for South Africa going forward. John Smith offloads to Paulsa. Yeah, beautiful offload to Dupree. And again for Paulsa. Can he go again? Brayton Paulsa. Try number 23. Dupree, Van der Westhuizen, Trevilius, he has a chance now. Can he find anybody? Does he need them? No, he's offloaded perfectly for Andre Snyman to get his 10th try for South Africa. Cracked a rib there.
Torn rib cartilage. And it's,
well, that looks like a rib problem. Wynand Dulafier.
Move away, move away!
10 against Scotland. Monty, step, bang over. January, Dutoy, Smith, Montgomery hasn't scored for ages. Monty has done now.
It went quite smoothly. The guys felt that the communication was quite good. I think still a lot to work on though. The Scots came at us from the word go and certainly didn't make it easy for us.
Well, against the Scots, the Boks were always supposedly expected to be the dominant side, and they were in that first test. Second test as well would prove not too very different, but of course there was the big injury and a couple more player movements.
Collar, it came as an enormous shock. We got through the test match, we won it well enough. And then afterwards, the news came down that Schalk Burger had injured his neck very seriously. There was even talk that it might end his career. So you can imagine a sort of a pall settled on the side as we were moving into this big year, the year of preparation before the next year's World Cup. But Scotland in Port Elizabeth wasn't a test we'd like to remember.
He's practicing earlier before this match, got it right. But he's got this one. They could carry on playing from there. Get his target set. Just the 2 steps that he comes in. It's a super kick. Because while you're making territory, you're getting over the gain line. That's the important issue. This is the run through. That's going to be a try. It's not a well-judged thing that with a couple of the big men in front of him.
And the South Africans might be used to. The Boks, on the other hand, have to kick their goals as they're doing.
They were taken away by Scotland. Was it done legally? The referee has no problem with that. No. Pull the trigger. Oh, he really has got the distance, hasn't he? No problem at all. Schalk Burger standing off. Then the little chip kick over the top. Oh, dear. Well, home kicking style ensures that Van Niekerk controlling at the back. Scrum has wheeled somewhat there. Dupree. Again, he's got over. Oh, Van der Westhuizen's dropped it, and that's going to be a try. Well, he's done his bit. He's scrummed extremely well today, has Durant.
Been very critical, the inability to create scoring opportunities, and it seems that it's still there.
Ricky Janie's got it knocked on. And effectively Scotland out of the game. So Montgomery, what a day it's been for him. There we have it then, the full-time scoreline here in Port Elizabeth.
I think if we look back to where we played last week, I think we all knew it was going to be a bigger challenge this week. The Scots had obviously been able to do a little bit more homework and they certainly came out today a lot more physical.
Well, then it was then off to Cape Town. Against the French, the wheels were to come unstuck for Jake White, unfortunately, adding more pressure to his job, his position. And of course, the remarks that he made ahead of that test match didn't help things either.
Ahead of that test match, at a press conference, Jake White had suddenly announced, out of the blue, that he had permission to apply for the England coaching job. And that caused an amazing amount of controversy. I think controversy that Jake White wasn't aware of, because the body of ex-Springboks were unhappy with that. They felt that if he thought England was better than the Springboks, he should leave, and that unhappiness was obviously conveyed to administrators. It was the beginning of an unhappy time that would be as bad as the worst ever previous run in 1965.
As Jake headed for a record-breaking 13 wins at home, rumours spread of the possibility that the Cape Town Test could be his last as Springbok coach.
I'm not going to shirk about it. There's obviously negotiations going forward with SA Rugby, and there's obviously opportunities for me abroad. My first loyalty is to the Springbok team, and I think that's very, very important from my point of view. The job at hand is we've got France tomorrow. It's an amazing thing. Every time we have France, we seem to be talking about the same things.
Vincent Clair, the kick over the top of Brent Russell, and a mistake from Brent Russell. Try to the French, Cedric Hammonds. Dupree again playing advantage now. Stuart Dickinson. He struck it beautifully. There's a little tailwind behind him as they moved the ball quickly through the hands. They had a big overlap. Yashvili with the penalty goal attempt. Curls it back in beautifully by Big Osterrand. Back it comes again for, this time, Florian Fritz with the drop goal. Yashvili, little chip kick over the top. Well, he struck it beautifully. Ferocious rucking from the French.
So it also must be said in the last 10 minutes or so, aside from Percy Montgomery's third penalty kick in.
Van der Westhuizen now, Russell. To Vetberry, it's covered by Yashvili. Starts it outside the left upright and curls it. And now penalty to South Africa. This from straight out in front. And he's got it. Now Vandenberg in possession at the back. Dupree, Russell! Space to work with! One man to beat! Brent Russell! What a try! Yashvili, the kick over the top from Trae. And gathered for France. This is a chance for the French here. It's Vincent Clair. Desperate defence from the Springboks here. Yashvili again. There's some space here for France. Damien Trae, straight through the middle. Try number 3 for France. Might that be a turning point, I wonder. And once again, the lead is reduced. He had Percy Montgomery in support. Strikes it beautifully, starts it outside the left-hand upright.
We didn't perform well, we got outplayed, and we'll have to take this game and learn from it if we want to go forward with this year.
Well, Dan, 2006 also saw the start of the extended Tri-Nation series where each team would play each other 3 times.
It was the most shocking start. In Brisbane, the Springboks went down 49-0, the second heaviest defeat in history after the 53-3 result at the end of 2002. And a sad occasion for 2 youngsters, because it was the debut for Piers Spies and Akona Ndungane.
A kangaroo submissive and eating out of my hand. That's the way we want to see them on Saturday. Actually, it would be perfect, wouldn't it?
The history behind that game is one that I'd like to forget, because it was probably the least best prepared we've ever been for a test match. Not from a rugby point of view, but from an emotional point of view. We had so many personal issues with individuals in the team that my whole task for the week was trying to get people just to mix into the team and blend into the 15 that was going to play against Australia. I didn't succeed, and I think the personal issues were far greater than the international test ahead.
The Springboks arrived in Brisbane 10 days before the test as 2 new caps were chosen for the Brisbane game. Piers Spies and Akona Ndungane, both from the Blue Bulls, would play on the flank and the wing.
Yeah, I think back to my cap and try and correlate it to what these 2 guys have got tomorrow against one of the top teams in the world. And, playing in really important positions. Pierre at 8 and a corner at 14. It's a phenomenal challenge. I'm sure today that they will be doing just about everything they can to make sure their debut goes successfully, and I know for a fact that every guy around them will make sure that they welcome them into the family.
Jeremy Paul has possession. South Africa need to keep them in behind. That's what you don't want to do, is break away from the ball. It's over the line. Well, a lot of dumming going on. Eventually it's Vickerman, Gregan, Larkham. Always found a hole, has Stephen Larkham. Here he goes, looks on the inside, he looks on the outside, has Habana running round in 6s and 7s, and it's Holmes! Paul Honus says play on. Now the referee has hand out penalty.
An option, no option.
So Victor Matfield off into the sin bin. Gregan, Gerard, Ghetto! under the post, Matt Gutto. Accordingly, Gutto. And here's to Kerry. Monty was chasing him inside. Nathan will get the 4th try for the Wallabies. And he finds favour. Beautiful interpassing by the Wallabies. A very fruitful night. The biggest hiding South Africa have had against Australia. It's been a humiliating night.
They put the nails in the coffin early on and kept on nailing them in.
It wasn't a great game for South Africa, to say the least. It was a shocker. The handling was bad. The phases they couldn't put together. Wallaby romp earns a redemption. So the Wallabies are back on track. It was really, as I said, a very impressive performance against South Africa. Respect gained in 6-try rot as timid Springbok outfit takes savage pounding at Suncorp. And they took a pounding, there is no doubt.
Then to take 49 points from Australia is beyond difficult. It's beyond uncomfortable. It's beyond embarrassing. Because they're a country that we are very competitive against, towards, and certainly it's a victory that people threw into our faces more often than not. And I still hear about the 49-0 today.
Well, it was heads down, tails between their legs, and the Boks were off to Wellington for another tough assignment, this time up against the might of the All Blacks, Dan.
Yeah, drastic times called for drastic solutions. One of the key things that happened is that Jake White replaced Dani Rousseau with none other than Butch James to come and play fly half in that test match, which meant the picture for the World Cup, the 22 that we're tracing in the years ahead, there was another one added. Butch became number 16.
Again, Butch offers us probably a little bit more experience, a little bit more directness. I mean, Sammy Tupa is going to be playing against us. He runs really hard into that channel.
They said there's going to be this big showdown between you and Richie McCaw. That must be quite a challenge for you as well.
It's a challenge for me because I played with Richie this year at the beginning of the Super 14, and it was a quite close game when the Sharks lost that game, and then I'm still waiting, and then I played for the whole game in that one, and I'm still waiting for this one on Saturday as well.
James kicks off for South Africa. Well, he hoiks it down the middle, and Sam Tupa is called into action immediately. Quite a difficult man to pull down when he gets on the go. Carter. Oh, look at this! Look at this! It's South Africa have scored! Unbelievable for Reid du Preez. Away there from James as the All Blacks now build up with this almost slow poison type play. Will it stay? Yeah, it keeps its line. Carter again. Roar from the crowd. Look at the sidestep on the man. Good tackle by Ferree. Here goes Miliaina. The crowd are on their feet. He feeds it up to Hamilton. Still with Perry Weeper. Weeper gets the try. Scrum takes the South African native part. That's a little bit better. Du Preez decided to go with a kick, and Brayton Paul says there. Whoa, a great try. To kick this if South Africa to have a chance. And the flags go up. Carter. This is dangerous on the counter. Very dangerous. He's got a man on the inside. McCaw could score here. Sliding.
Yeah, the boys obviously came out playing a lot better, made less mistakes, but the mistakes they made, All Blacks capitalised. They got a sniff and they made it count with every time they got into our half. They played well. Our guys played a lot better, but there's still a lot more from us to come.
You know, it was a tough test match, and you know, for the middle parts of both halves, they really put us under pressure. We made a few mistakes, and you know, it was a good old test match.
Well, it wouldn't have been a pleasant experience travelling back to Australia for the Springboks after that 49-0 defeat in Brisbane. But the second match against the Wallabies was in Sydney, and although not a win, quite a bit of a turnaround.
Well, the Springboks almost achieved a miraculous turnaround, 49-0, and then right at the end of the game, we were actually leading this test match, and then conceded a late try to Mark Gerard to lose by just 2 points.
The sound of the didgeridoo, the sights of Sydney Opera House and Sydney Harbour Bridge welcomed the Springboks to the bustling city. John Smith and the Boks were hoping to relieve George Gregan and the Wallabies of the Mandela Plate. It was not to be.
International rugby seasons are getting longer and longer with more games every year. Players do not get enough time to recuperate and do the appropriate strength training, which obviously helps them for the next season.
Yeah, they say that there's a theory that they should take time off to be able to build up their strength and also their speed, because the rugby season, the rugby year is so full that the players don't get enough time to do the sort of weight training that they need to do to really build strength from pumping bulk weights.
After 2004, we've played rugby non-stop right until now. For every 1,000 training and playing hours, there is 3 injuries. So we've expected that, and this is one of our biggest problems. We just play too much rugby, and we say it again and again and again.
Right under the South African posts, and the penalty. And it is no problem for Mortlock. Dupree James. Well, if Montgomery takes all, well, it's worked in the Wallabies' favour. Gerard will score here. It got away from South Africa. Mark Gerard. See, Jacques Crenier has packed him between the flank and the other, and the lock as he goes. Who makes no mistake. Matfield, Dupree. Yeah, Olivier straight through, beautiful ball for Ndungane. Did he go the wrong way? The South Africans pile in. Gito comes away with the ball. Penalty under the posts. This ball should strike the crossbar, something there's not a Springbok follow-up player in sight. Good scrum again. Gregan under pressure. Now the race is on. It depends on the bounce. It's got to be there for Jacques-Marie. Dive! Yes! Yes, yes, yes! Dupree, this is good for the chance to move it out by Free Dupree. Montgomery! So nearly through. The drive comes from Habana over the goal line. Pile in. Can they get it to ground? A try! Africans has gone down, and it's Phil Ward who makes ground here. Looks on the outside, it's Rogers. Montgomery is coming. Rogers scores for the Wallabies. It's locked at 18-all with the conversion to come.
When you play South Africa, you've got to play a fair bit of field position. They thrive on your mistakes in your own half. And, you know, we didn't have much time to play in that first half. And we probably let ourselves down a little bit with fundamental errors.
All that effort not rewarded tonight, but what you'd call a 47-point turnaround. I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's still not what we wanted. We wanted to win tonight. I think we did everything we could. It's us, heartbreaking.
Where were you when Matt Rogers scored that try, and I guess Sterling Mortlock kicked the goal?
Yeah, I was trying to find my heart, broken somewhere on the floor, so it's a tough moment, especially after we'd worked so hard for 80 minutes.
Well, it was a long road to Tri-Nations glory, but it was one that Graham Henry and the All Blacks had clearly taken. They'd already taken the title by the time the All Blacks moved over to Pretoria to take on the Boks.
Yes, yet again, the All Blacks were completely dominant out of the World Cup season. You know, they went to Loftus, which has become a great ground for the All Blacks. They tend to win well there. And in this test, Kola, they would win well again, which is quite hard to stomach. But some interesting points in the match. Ruan Pienaar, in the road to Paris, became number 17. And in fact, the victory was the All Blacks' 17th in a row. So yet again, the All Blacks were chasing that magical number of 18. So let's have a look at the All Blacks going to number 17.
Durant tried to get a whip pass away, offside by the All Blacks. So the pressure is on. It's over the crossbar. And of course, Somerville hugely experienced against Durant, even more experienced.
CJ van der Linde slipped the bind once or twice down in New Zealand. Not now, though.
Of course, the wind comes into the stadium, will swirl a little bit. Will he hold its line? What a kick!
Hands off, South Africa! Hands off!
Can you hear the referee shouting hands off? Unfortunate that the crowd boos, but Daniel Carter is not put off. Cover tackle there by Sivivatu, who's got extreme pace. And in fact, Liam McDonald is down. And look at this, it's for Rita Prema, who gets in for the try. He snuck around the short side.
Twisting it in.
Well, it's another great kick here at scrum half now. The referee says wait to the Springboks. McAllister wide for Carter. Little jab ahead. Oh, the All Blacks are all over this. Look at them. Take your pick. Now the first breakdown, it will be half-time.
Off his feet.
I'm not positive of the records. The last person might have been Don Clark. It's flying. It's flying. It's still flying. Unbelievable. A difficult man to tackle as Rupert. They'll go back for the penalty. Well, he's on song, is he? The flags go up. Traffic roars, and Ngani may have a chance. Muliaina can create problems here as he cracks on the pace again. Look at the pass, Sivivatu. It's away. Here is McAllister. He must score there again. They're lining up in numbers, and Luke McAllister doesn't need any of them.
Leave it. Hands off!
Well, it must be a penalty for South Africa. And the flags are up for Monty's kick. With a look at his options and goes away. Sivivatu could get in here. He's got huge pace, this man. Only got the ball. Faree's done well now. Turn the ball around, but then makes a hash as he gets it away for Ali Williams. Here goes McAllister. Habana makes a tackle. Muliaina is unstoppable. Blacks with only Tuipulotu still sitting on the bench. So Ralapela still awaits his call. Now Pretorius gets it wide for Premier. Jacques Ferré! Try time! Dupree, Pretorius, de Villiers. Oh, Jacques Ferré's timed his run beautifully. It was a little bit of a scramble. Now Collins, well, look at that boot and go, and here comes Ali Williams, but Rico here has read it perfectly. His running off the ball is superb, as witnessed by he's been the top try scorer for the Crusaders.
Well, it was another nasty All Black Springbok result at Loftus, but then on to an untested venue. The Boks decided that they're going to take on the All Blacks at the Royal Bafokeng Stadium.
Yeah, nobody really thought they would do that. When it was announced that there was going to be a test match at the soccer ground, the Royal Bafokeng Stadium in Rustenburg, everybody took that with a pinch of salt and said they would probably not go there. Of course, rugby test matches have been played in Rustenburg at another stadium during the World Cup in '95. But there we're on our way to the Royal Bafokeng Stadium. Very interesting region, of course, platinum-rich region, steeped in history.
The Royal Bafokeng Sports Palace just outside Rustenburg was opened in 1999 and is completely funded by the Royal Bafokeng community. With King Leroe Motlegi's blessing, Advocate Boitshoko Sene, the chief spokesperson for the Royal Bafokeng Nation, summed up this great test opportunity in one word.
Exhilarating. It is not often that we get to do what we really wanted to do, which is to develop our people beyond the academic stuff towards the sports, culture and related things. And it seems to us that this test match brings continents, brings different people from throughout South Africa to come and enjoy rugby in a village. I don't think anybody can say that.
Well, venue aside, there were also a number of very interesting occurrences in that match. Pierre Spies, who'd had his debut in that very terrible 49-0 loss, had a chance now to redeem himself. Andre Pretorius was playing well. And of course, the All Blacks were gunning for that 18th win in a row.
Yeah, the 18th would have been the record of successive victories. And I think they thought it would be a cakewalk. You know, the Springboks seemed to be in disarray. As it turned out, the All Blacks had one foot on the plane. They thought they just needed to turn up. But as so often in Springbok history, the boys dug deep and they pulled out a win. As you say, Pierre Spies became a respected international player in that game. And Andre Pretorius was back from injury, and there he was, taking control, guiding the fortunes of his team and kicking the winning penalty.
Palace advantage being played to South Africa here. Nana crewing and Rodney Soyalo penalised for coming in from the side. 30 points against New Zealand so far. Is it going to be 33? Well, you called the fade, Joel. Still available for the All Blacks. Knocked on by Jacques Fourie. Perhaps fortunately.
Not going to find us, you're offside.
Bit of noise from the crowd. That won't bother him in the slightest. Though they have the throw in. And Johan Muller now is the man pulled down in the line-out. Again, he struck it well, and again, it raises the flags.
Well to get across.
Still available, though, for the All Blacks. Carter, Jack up the middle. Chris Jack, he's got Collins with him. And it's the first try to Dan Carter. Pretorius, again onto the left foot.
Hold number 4.
Aaron Major perfectly positioned. He's got Soyalo in support. Soyalo back for Major, but Habana with the interception. Read it superbly in under the posts. Got it on the bounce to Dan Carter, and now Jimmy Cowan. Again, the crowd's jeering does nothing. Jacques Fourie is there to make the clean out. Pienaar. Now Pretorius, a real chance here for South Africa. Spies spots a little half gap. Support from AJ Venter. Pienaar through the hands. Bang! Up the middle he goes. Ball goes loose. But regathered by New Zealand. Dangerous times for South Africa now. The little chip kick through. There goes Rokothoko.
Gentlemen, back for that's good.
AJ Venter with the pick up and drive.
Release, Black, release, he's done it. He's done it, he's gone, he's gone.
Johan Muller imploring the referee to give a penalty, and now it comes. Rodney Soyalo is penalised. And he's got it! Andre Pretorius takes South Africa in front. Less than a minute and a half to go.
It's a little bit of a different feeling. It's nice to get a win. It's been a rough couple of weeks, but still a long way away from how we can play. So we're just glad we got this step going forward.
The victory over the All Blacks turned out to be a watershed for the Springboks. And after Rustenburg, their fortunes would take an upward curve.
I knew it was going to do, and it's the law where we just don't get to all that. You can enjoy tonight. We've got Australia next week. It's not jumping, eh? So we've got to finish on my night against Australia. But I just think the message is if you believe you can win, you can win. That's the one part. And people say you can't, if you believe it, you can. That's all that. Enjoy it.
Well, nothing restores pride better than a win against the All Blacks. It stopped them from achieving their 18th successive win. It stopped that bad run of 5 defeats in a row for Jake White. And against the Wallabies, they'd be able to gain a little more pride.
Absolutely, because the focus was starting to switch to the next year's Rugby World Cup. Ellis Park is a favourite hunting ground for the Springboks when they play the Wallabies at Highveld at altitude. The Wallabies hadn't won there for 43 years. Significant in this test match, a new player appeared in the run-up to the Rugby World Cup. A young man by the name of J.P. Peterson became number 18, playing at fullback.
There's one or two players that I feel that shouldn't be in the team that are in the team, but I think if we just work together, then we should be doing fine.
Just keep it tight like they played against New Zealand and they will win. Die Springbokke moet verdedig, man tot man. Hulle moet nie hulle man oorslaan nie. Center met 'n center tackle, vleuel met 'n vleuel tackle, dan kan ons die game vandag wen.
Ek is 'n Springbok. Ek is
It is said that every young South African dreams of wearing a Springbok jersey in a test match, including South Africa's Olympic gold medalist, swimmer Roland Screen.
Oh, and it's slowed down as there's another penalty and a kickable position for the Wallabies. This time he's on target. Gregan. Well read by Dundungani onto Nathan Sharp. Penalty South Africa. Oh, that's a better looking kick. Look at it fly. Look at it fly. Oh, and it's a penalty to South Africa for holding on there. Yes, it will. And now Gito goes again, gets a long ball away to Palu, is a big man. Larkham hasn't scored for a while. Up goes Matfield, contested there by Dan Vickerman. Penalty South Africa. For those viewers overseas, and he's successful. It's a one-point game.
Hold there, 8.
Dupree, Pretorius, decides to go that route. It's straight. It's true. The referee's hand is up. 18 dropping. It was Mark Chisholm. The penalty will be on here for South Africa if they don't score. It's in a kickable position. Well, it's quickly taken by Farid Dupree. Can he get it over the line? What brilliant play by the scrum half. But it's a beautiful ball for Gregan. Advantage for the Wallabies. Sharp tried to get the pass away. Durant intercepted, but it's a very kickable position.
Scrambling defence from the box.
Well, that's no problem for Sterling Mortlock. Pretorius shut down very quickly. Now they've got numbers on the right-hand side of this ruck half. South Africa. Spies gets it away to Peterson. Lovely pass here for Matfield. Gets inside his man. Finds Peterson again. Can the youngster score? Has men with him. Matfield sizes up the options. Now they go to the right. Paulson! Oh, Swaz! Bangs it over the whitewash. It's try number 25 for Brayton Paulson.
Just in terms of the psychological side of the game, how important were these last 2 wins?
Well, I think they're paramount to us going forward in the next 12 months because I think momentum is everything that any team wants going into the World Cup. There's now a big break until the next international, which is in November. So that'll be everything. Everything from now on is how you build towards the World Cup, which is going to be vital. Obviously, starting off with the first loss against France, and then starting the Tri-Nations in a terrible way. You certainly look at times as you go to bed when we're overseas, and you think to yourself, this can go terribly wrong. And the guys kept on talking about what they could do and how far off they were. And yeah, I think in the months to come leading up to next year, which is going to be an important year, every time that we're faced with challenges that are coming towards us on a Saturday, I think guys will have a lot of perspective now in terms of the hardships that they've endured over the last couple of weeks. And I said to the players afterwards, I think they'll only realise one day when they're old how well they've done to get themselves out of that 5-game slump.
The whole thing is a psychological thing. I think in most sides where they were sort of a month ago might have just thrown the towel in. And to come back and beat the All Blacks first of all, and then beat the Wallabies who've had 3 weeks off, and I can't tell you how talented they are. I mean, they're the most capped Test backline I think in the history of rugby. So again, that win isn't just beating the Wallabies at Ellis Park. It's for us where we were a month ago to win 2 consecutive games is a major feat. I mean, as I speak, 9th of September next year. I think today we play England. So, time's running out. We've got to make sure we get everything in place. Because, no one's ever won the World Cup that hasn't won their pool. So, got to make sure we keep that stat going.
Well, winning the final 2 matches of the Tri-Nations was really a boost to the Springboks. There was light at the end of the tunnel, eased the pressure of Jake White considerably, but the focus now would shift to the end of the year tour. And going on tour without a number of experienced campaigners, and I suppose all in the name of conditioning and resting, was a decision that would ultimately haunt White.
And it was such an important tour. There was that commemoration of the 1906 Springboks, Paul Roos's team, who were the first team ever to be known as Springboks. There was the special jersey that was created to commemorate that moment. It was the last expedition before the next year's Rugby World Cup. So Jake White had a special plan for that tour, and one of those plans was to rest certain senior and key players. So Victor Matfield, Percy Montgomery, Farid Priya, Os Durant. He wanted to leave them at home. He wanted them fully fit for the next year's Rugby World Cup. He had permission to do so. But as rugby administrators are, when we lost the test to Ireland, the pressure would really build on Jake White. And he would be taken to task for not having taken his best team to Lansdowne Road.
Well, on the opposite end, of course, there was the inclusion of a number of new faces. Yet again, Jake White adding to that final tally of his World Cup winning team.
Most interesting, a young man appeared on the wing, a young man called Francois Steyn, and he would be number 19 of the 22 coming together. And interestingly, Kola, at that point, if you look at the starting 15 for the Stade de France on the 20th of October the next year was intact, and they were all playing for Jake White. Also debuts for Jaco Pretorius and a young guy from the Free State, Bevan Fortuin.
Frans Steyn, who hails from the Free State and only turned 19 in May, is one of the players selected to travel to Murray Mexted's International Rugby Academy in New Zealand. The young fly-half, who can also play fullback and inside centre, is now based at the Sharks Rugby Academy.
Ek was vet en klein, die mense mag geboelie en dis ook groot geword het. Op 'n stadium het ek net hyperaktief begin raak seker. Toe maar geword en loskakel op die einde begin speel.
After primary school days in Bethlehem, he moved to Bloemfontein, where he completed his high school career at Grey.
Part 6 was ek na Grey Bloem toe gewees. Baie goeie skool gewees vir my. Ek dink nog steeds die beste skool waartoe ek kon gegaan het. Hulle het na my gekyk en goed. Stout was hulle my uitgesorteer en ja, en rugby gespeel onder 14B gespeel. En net so ontwikkel deur die ranks.
Frans is baie volwasse. Jy kan maar met hom gesels, jy sal eers dadelik agterkom hy's volwasse. Dan dink ek hy's so gereed vir 'n storie soos hierdie nou, jy weet, hy's heeltemal reg. As hy nie die top persoon is nie, as hy een van die top 3 van spelers. So hy's uitstaan is. Sy aangee links en regs is fenomenaal en dan skop hy 'n bal 'n myl ver.
Juba, weet jy, die ou het begin as 'n haker en dan onder 13 krywen week het 'n mannetjie hier uit Natal hom op sy kop laat val. So erg dat die ou so 3 dae intensief gelê het. Daar was groot twyfel dat hy nooit weer sou rugby speel nie. En toe hy daar bykom, toe die man gesê hy wil niks anders doen as rugby speel nie. En van daar af het hy maar deur al sy beserings en al probleme wat daar maar langs die veld en op die veld is, het hy vasgebyt en dis waar hy vandag trek.
Jy bekend as 'n loskakel, maak jou debuut vir die Springbok op die vleuel. Wat gaan jy van die game verwag?
Ek weet rarig, jy sal maar sien. Ek weet nie, ek sien baie uit en goed. Dus soos Jake nou maar gesê het, niemand weet wat om te verwag van Saterdag. Ons sal Saterdag sien wat gebeur.
The glory of Frans Steyn in 2007 was the youngster of 2006 that no one even knew about.
The beautiful city of Dublin and the ancient Lansdowne Road would play host to the official Springbok Centennial game. Amid all kinds of criticism, Springbok coach Jake White was sticking to the plan we had glimpsed in Bloemfontein at the beginning of the season, and he left his most senior players at home to rest for the World Cup.
The selection of that team was a very important one. We'd left a very important amount of core players behind at home, and we'd had to take the gamble, because if we believed that if we'd gambled on taking those core guys to the overseas tour, that they wouldn't have been worth much to us in the World Cup year. We're lucky in the fact that we got to prove that theory, but going over there put a lot of pressure on, especially after the year that we'd had.
In 1906, a South African rugby team arrived at Southampton in England for the first ever rugby tour by a team from this country to the United Kingdom and Ireland. They were captained by a man called Paul Rus.
Hoe die naam Springbok vir die eerste keer gekies is as naam vir 'n Suid-Afrikaanse rugbyspan. Dit was in Eastbourne, kort na hulle aankoms in Engeland. 'n Verslaggewer kom toe met die kaptein gesels en die gesprek het plaasgevind terwyl vader so half teen die doelpale geleun het om 'n bietjie asem te skep. Die verslaggewer vra onder meer, Mr. Rus, what do you call yourselves? You see, the Irish call themselves the Shamrocks, the New Zealanders the All Blacks. Now what name have you chosen? En toe skiet die gedagte van die Springbok om te binne. And he said to, you may call us Springboks. That is our national antelope. And please get the spelling correct. Not Springboks, but Springboks with an O.
The Springboks today will take the field in a very special jersey to commemorate 100 years of Springbok rugby. It'll be the green as you know it, but not the gold collar, rather the white collar, and a specially designed badge, which was the same kind of jersey that the team of Paul Rus played again 100 years ago.
Curry, the blue stockings with the white hoops at the top, and just as they played back in 1906, and then they'll be playing with the blue shorts. So it's in fact a situation where they'll run onto the field and people will not be too used to seeing them running on in these colours. But I think it's a great thing that they have come up with something special just to commemorate 100 years of rugby using the Springbok badge.
And it was a very, very memorable moment playing in those jerseys in the centenary test.
2 months ago, South Africa played against Australia, and only 4 of the players who played that day are playing tonight. That's De Villiers, Pretorius Smith and Spies.
The team that chosen was a very good one. We had Brian Abana at 13, which was an experiment. You know, we didn't have a poor team, but it was an inexperienced team in terms of the one that had played over the last 3 years.
And so, just to give you an idea of the weather, it is fine in terms of rain. There is a strong wind blowing down the field from your left to right as it is at the moment. And so it looks like the island will be in the white jerseys and they will play with the strong wind.
It's the one time where Jake and I really disagreed heavily on how we wanted to start the match. You know, Jake was always had the theory of the fact that you need to play against the wind first, set the tone, and things will be quite tight enough in the first couple of exchanges that the wind won't play a big role. But I think we forgot to realise that was a gale force wind, and we got ourselves into so much trouble. And I should have been strong in that decision, because the final decision did lie with me, and I should have been strong in the decision knowing that we needed the momentum. With an inexperienced side, we needed to have that wind behind our backs at first.
Hands off, White, penalty South Africa. First kick of the match, and it cuts in beautifully. They're in South Africa's 22, O'Gara, little dash here, and it's Trimble's try, Ireland. They've in that position, Jean de Villiers needs to nail him.
Roll away.
Penalty is kicked over by Ronan Gara. And tackles Stringer, O'Gara. Darcy, and they again broke the line. Here it is. David Wallace, he should get in. He canters in. Does David Wallace. Stringer, Darcy, Best. He's a tough man, Best. The Ulsterman. Great position. That's the goal line in the background, where Jean de Villiers is standing. And Marcus Horan. Again for Ricky January, now for John Smith. Good hands by Donnie Rousseau. Great offload. Francois Steyn. Steinke, he's got it. Can he make something of this? Good offload to Bevan Fontaine. Now, Habana, use the pace. Use the pace. Gets inside again. Brian Habana. Within 10 points of Ireland. O'Gara moves it wide. And it's Hogan!
We started so well, we got the ball and we kept it through about 12 phases. We ran from our own 22, and I thought, geez, it's quite nice to see these players wanting to play rugby, and you know, when you look again and you see the end result, I mean, we slipped too many tackles, and to be fair, I mean, that's where it all starts. If you're not going to make your first-time tackles, you're going to put yourself under pressure. You know, we played with a wind in the second half, and we probably didn't use the wind as well as they did. And again, you know, Peter Stringer and Ronan O'Gara are used to these conditions. I thought that, you know, we should have maybe played more into the right-hand corner with the wind going that way into the corner, and we never seemed to get down there.
We just never had a chance. We played against a really experienced Irish team who were playing really good rugby at that time, and we played against this wind, and we couldn't kick ourselves into position, we couldn't play ourselves into position, and we just struggled. And by the time we changed halves, the wind had died, and you know, the advantage had been lost, and we were up against a handicap.
Well, a double header against England at Twickenham is never an easy task, and 2006 would see the Boks take on the English twice. They'd lost 6 in a row against the English. It really wasn't looking too good after that lesson that had been taught by the Irish at Lansdowne Road, but it would prove to be quite a memorable performance.
It was an important time for the Springbok side. Never before had we played England back-to-back at Twickenham, so that was a first. As you say, Kola, the Irish game was an unhappy one, but Jake White had planned carefully that he needed to beat England because England was in our future. We were playing them in the pool game in France, and we knew they were there, and he wanted that psychological edge.
Twickenham, the home of English rugby. The Springboks hadn't won here since 1997, and the loss against Ireland and the previous week's loss against England had the whole country holding its breath to see what would happen next. Every effort was made before the game to try and help the Springboks win. The dressing room was made up, and inspirational words were put everywhere to lift their spirits.
What were South Africa's problems, do you think, comparable to England's?
They are. I think South Africans' problems, you know, possibly at the moment slightly alleviated by a win against the All Blacks, you know, albeit in South Africa, you know, at altitude, etc. It's taken a bit of the pressure off Jake White, but 5 months ago he was under exactly the same pressure. He was 4 or 5 on the trot, and the whole country was, you know, everybody was sharpening the axes and getting ready to get rid of him and his regime.
Lucy, he'll be a danger from fullback as Gueto came in from the, well, there's that penalty. 253 points for England. His place has been in jeopardy, but is successful with the first one. January with his first touch. James, they need to chase here, do those 2 centres.
Baie duidelik om die nek en laat Martin Corrie.
He's one of those players who gets very worked up, but with the captaincy over his shoulders, Butch James kept his head down. The flags go up. Palmer again. Will they more? Went to ground immediately. Taken in the air, penalty England. And that's a good one by him. That will put England into the lead. Lucy, Steyn has read it beautifully. Has he got the time to go for a drop again? Showed what he could do. Now, will he turn back? He's turned back, and it's over! On the outside, finds him now. Good pass for Jean de Villiers. Look on the inside, runs into Hodgson, holds him off. Brilliant offload! Butch James gets his first try in Test rugby. Men out wide, de Villiers it is. James, nice little jab through, and they got it! Hands off, shouts Steve Walsh. Lucy.
I've already spoken to the captain about it. Professional foul, slowing it down.
Stopped a certain try there, and it comes again. Good try. Surely, did he lose the ball? Well, it's still alive. Kubus is still alive there.
Thank you.
January digs. Advantage to South Africa. James. Here goes Steyn. This to make England score twice, and he's done it. advantage for them as Lucy Dog penalty will be given. Good kicks the goal. Now England go once again. Try for England. And he kicks England into the lead. South Africa, I believe, have paid the price for going on the defence.
And then the most amazing thing happened. Jake White, who had permission to be fielding a weakened Springbok side, almost a B-side, some said, was called back to answer to SA Rugby. There was a motion of no confidence in the coach brought by the Blue Bulls. So Jake White at that time had to fly back to South Africa in between test matches to come and answer for his actions.
Jake, John here. Are you going to be around to see the World Cup? Because people are saying you've been called back to be fired. What's going on?
Yeah, well, John, that, as I said, that surprised to me. It was a plan that I'd sold out a long time ago in terms of what we were going to do on the end of your tour. As I said, if it was going to be the case where I was going to lose my job, do you think I would have been dumb enough to leave Victor Matfield, Farid du Preez, Percy Montgomery, Brayton Paulser, Oyster Runt at home? We know what World Cups mean to us as a country. In '95, we probably didn't change rugby, we changed the whole country. And we've got an opportunity next year to win the World Cup.
And why are you going back for this meeting?
What is happening there is I've had a meeting with the President and the Vice President, Chris Busson and obviously Regan Hoskins. They have suggested that it's important for me to go back and see the President's Council who are meeting next week. And obviously I'm going to go there and have a chat to them about what the plan was. It was always a risk, but at the same time I really believe that it's the right thing to do going forward.
The vote went with him. He was retained as the coach and then back to England to play England again. And then the build-up to the Rugby World Cup started in earnest.
All about Surin must be clamoured around their television sets. And just a little word of encouragement there from Johan Muller.
Ever since the loss against France in Cape Town, rugby pundits have been calling for Jake to bring a fetcher into his side, and all eyes were on the young cheetah to prove them right.
Maar eers is baie geluk, baie welkom in Engeland. Jy sien seker uit na Saterdag.
Ja, nee, ek sien uit na Saterdag en om my land te verteenwoordigen en so. Ons wag maar nou eers hoe die span keuses gaan wees en dan sal mense weet of die voorreg gaan hê om op Twickenham te speel.
Jy het die verlede Saterdag se toets gekyk wat jy geleer het daai wedstryd.
Ja, dit gaan nog meer as jy nou kans benut op 'n van dag en jy laat ander ouens toe om in die game te kom, dan gebeur sulke dinge soos dat my ouens het goed gespeel Saterdag en ons hoop om net die van verder te vat.
Kabamba is new to it, but I'm sure he'll fit in nicely. He's played with a lot of these players in the Currie Cup and against them, and he's very excited. So it also adds a little bit of excitement to the team. I'm sure from a running point of view and the ability that he can add to the team, that's what we can obviously put on the field. But again, I think the fact that we've had 8 injuries in the loose forward department, so they get a nice chance to show themselves, and that's all we want is when as many players between now and the World Cup putting their hands up.
Oh, it's a good tackle once again by January. It's again Brian Habana who's penalised for holding somebody back, and he's done it for them again. Try scorer last week. England looking dangerous here, and it's a penalty right in front of the posts, offside by South Africa. January, Pretorius goes for the drop and nails it. It was by Jean de Villiers, and Johan Ackerman palpably offside. Richards, and now Good has got men aplenty on the outside here. This is vital that somebody catches. Matthew Tate, oh, he's just so nearly over. Cueto, try. Ndungane did well to be there and poach the ball. Now, they wanted that quickly penalty, South Africa. The pressure builds, of course, in these circumstances, but no problem for Andre Pretorius. Andy Good. Well taken by Johan Muller and played in the air. This to make it 152 points. South Africa have to maintain their patience here. Pretorius looks out wide at Van der Linde. CJ! Great hands! January Pretorius looks for the drop again, turns, over! They've got to keep that field position. Pretorius looks, turns, it's over! January Carstens is there. John Smith to the left hand, Andre Pretorius pops it over the crossbar. Drop kick number 4.
In 2004, Jake White had set the team a goal of winning the World Cup. And in late 2006, his focus was still on the Webb Ellis Cup.
Last week, we were in exactly the same situation at half-time, exactly the same situation in the game where they were one score away from winning the game. And what happened, guys, is we learned from last week. And so we eventually, that's what it's about. It's about making sure you don't make the same mistakes twice. Okay, so well done. I'm really proud of you. And as I said, this is all about winning the World Cup. Okay, remember I told you, there's only one difference, is that the little gold trophy is not on the floor.
It's almost strange how Springbok rugby keeps replicating itself, and there was another youngster, a hooker, who'd gone to Boys High in Pretoria, who was destined for Springbok captaincy, and that was young Chiliboy Ralepele.
Playing a guy like Chiliboy Ralepele to captain the side, again questioned at the board meeting in terms of captaincy. I think again, it's important to note he has captained under 21s, he's captained them to a World Cup win. He's captain under 19s to a World Cup win. He's captain guys like Francois Steyn, who's playing at Flav. He's captain JP Peterson, who's playing in the same team.
The Springbok side to take on the World 15 at Leicester this Sunday has been announced here in London today. Chiliboy Ralepele, the youngest Springbok captain of all times. We caught up with the young captain, Chiliboy Ralepele. What do you guys expect from this game on Sunday?
Well, we're expecting a loose game. We're expecting the World 15 to actually run the ball from anywhere, so it's for us to actually get our solid defensive lines and just keep on force them to make the errors, and we will take it from there.
Pienaar, Steyn, Bosman, Olivier, Peterson on the outside. Beautiful by Bernard Olivier, and well, Jaco Pretorius almost over. Vickers van Heerden swirls and dives. Works it wide, lovely timing there from Ruan Pienaar. Look at this, go all the way, go on your own, go all the way, gets it away, Albert van den Berg. Advantage to South Africa, surely they must score here, no. Well, there he goes, can you see it from that angle? It's short there, a try should be given, I hear them say. There we go. Good tackle by Meyer Bosman. Now Farrell gets it away. Mitchell! Consolation try for the World 15. Blind side for a big Donnie Rousseau. There goes Rousseau. Goes Wilmy. And Donnie Rousseau gets the try.
It was a day to remember for a pair of number 2s from the Blue Bulls, Chiliboy Ralepele and Gary Botha, whose joint efforts at captaining the Springboks for the first time resulted in victory.
In retrospect, 2006 was not the best year the Springboks could have had, considering that the World Cup was lurking just around the corner. Yeah, I suppose it is difficult to build a team for a World Cup which is less than a year away.
Collar, you're right. As dress rehearsals go, it almost couldn't be worse. 5 defeats, including that 49-0 loss in Brisbane, which hurt us so badly. But in the great scheme of things, looking ahead to the next year's Rugby World Cup, there were so many positives. And why I say that, in 2006, there might have been many defeats, but there were many moments that showed us why the Springboks could still win the Rugby World Cup in France in 2007.
January Carstens is there. John Smith to the left hand. Andre Pretorius pops it over the crossbar. Drop kick number 4.
Looking back, there was a target or a goal that Jake and we as a team set very early on. We knew we had to win at Twickenham, and being set up to play them twice there was the perfect opportunity to do so. I don't think it was the cleverest thing for them, but they gave us 2 opportunities to do so, even with an inexperienced team. We got over there and we should have taken the first one. We all knew that, and I think they knew that as well, and that week's preparation led to our confidence growing enormously. And the second test was just the cherry on the top, because that was the launch of, for me, the World Cup year.
And sharing the
You just said, guys, we're going to win the World Cup in 2007. A lot of the guys, they thought themselves, is this egg on drugs? The truth of the matter is that it wasn't a 7-week World Cup, it was a 4-year World Cup for us.
This episode of Sprinbok Saga was brought to you by Castle Lager, the taste that stood the test of time.